Hi, first graders. It's Mrs. Kuiper. I am getting so cozy right now. I'm under one of my favorite blankets. So while you sit back and listen to me read the next few chapters of The Absent Author, why don't you take a moment to grab one of your favorite blankets or stuffed animals so you can get cozy too, okay? So here we go. We're on chapter 7. Dink, Josh, and Ruth Rose left Mavis at Ellie's diner, then headed for Dink's house. Dink made tuna sandwiches and lemonade. Ruth Rose brought a bag of potato chips and some raisin cookies from her house next door. They ate at the picnic table in Dink's backyard. Dink took a bite of his sandwich. After he swallowed, he said, "Let's go over what we know." He moved his lemonade glass to the middle of the table. "My glass is the airport," he said. "We know Wallace landed." "How do we know he did?" Josh asked. "The airport told me the plane landed, Josh. And Maureen Higgins said she picked him up," Ruth Rose added. "Okay, so your glass is the airport," Josh said. "Keep going, Dink." Dink slid his sandwich plate over next to his glass. "My plate is Maureen's taxi." He put a cookie on the plate. "The cookie is Wallace getting into the taxi." Dink slid the plate over to the open potato bag. "This bag is the hotel." He walked the Wallace cookie from the plate into the bag. Dink looked at Josh and Ruth Rose. But what happened to Wallace after he walked into the lobby? "I'll tell you what happened," Josh said. He lined up 4 cookies in a row. "This little cookie is Mr. Paskey. These 3 are Maureen, Mr. Linkletter, and Olivia Nugent." So you can see what they're doing. They're pretending that each of those items are different people or places, kind of to make a map like you guys have been doing with your bedrooms. Josh looked up and waggled his eyebrows. "I think these 4 cookies planned the kidnapping together." Ruth Rose laughed. "Josh, Mr. Paskey and Livy Nugent are friends of ours. Do you really think they planned this big kidnapping? And can you see Mr. Linkletter and my babysitter pulling off a kidnapping together?" Josh ate a potato chip. "Well, maybe not, but someone kidnapped the guy. Our trail led us to the hotel, and then it ended," Dink said. "What I want to know is, if Wallace isn't in his room, where is he?" Dink nibbled on a cookie thoughtfully. "I'm getting a headache trying to sort all of it out." Ruth Rose dug into Dink's backpack and brought out 3 Wallace books. "I have an idea." She handed books to Dink and Josh and kept one. "What are these for?" Dink asked. "Josh made me think of something Wallace wrote in the mystery in the museum," Ruth Rose said. "He said the more you know about the victim, the easier it is to figure out who did the crime." She turned to the back corner of her book. "So let's try to figure out more about our victim. Listen to this." She started reading out loud. "When not writing, the author likes to work in the garden. Naturally, Wallace's favorite color is green." "Fine," said Josh, "but how does knowing his favorite color help us find him, Ruth Rose?" "I don't know, but maybe if we read more about him, we'll discover some clues," Ruth Rose said. "What does it say in the back of your book?" Josh flipped the back of the book over and began reading. Wallace lives in a castle called Moose Manor." He looked up. "We already know he lived in a castle. I don't see any clues yet, you guys." Ruth Rose stared at Josh. "You know, something is bugging me, but I can't figure out what it is." "Something someone said today, maybe." She shook her head. "Anyway, read yours, Dink." Dink read from the back cover of his book. Wallace gives money from writing books to help preserve the wild animals that live in Maine." "Okay, he gives money away to save animals, lives in a castle, and grows a bunch of green stuff," Josh said, counting on his fingers. Still no clues. Josh took another cookie. "But I just thought of something." He began slowly munching on the cookie. Dink raised his eyebrows. "Are you going to tell us, Josh?" "Well, I was thinking about room 302. Remember, someone signed the register right after Wallace checked into room 303. And the signature was all smudged. And then Olivia Nugent told us that room 302 had a do not disturb sign on it," Ruth Rose interrupted. "Livy never went into that room at all." Just then Dink's mother drove up the driveway. She got out of the car, waved, and started walking toward the picnic table. "Oh, no," Dink said. "If Mom finds out I'm trying to find a kidnapper, she won't let me out of the house. Don't say anything, okay?" "Can't I even say hi?" Josh asked. Dink threw a potato chip at Josh. "Say hi, then be quiet about you-know-what." I have to show you guys real quick. Ada is really liking this story. Her little paw is on my slipper. "Hi, Mrs. Duncan," Josh said, sliding a look at Dink. "Hi, kids. How was the book signing? Tell me all about Wallace Wallace, Dink. Is he as wonderful as you expected?" Dink stared at his mother. He didn't want to lie, but if he told her the truth, she wouldn't let him keep looking for Wallace Wallace. And Dink had a sudden feeling that they were very close to finding him. "We can't stop now," he thought. He looked at his mother and grinned stupidly. "Dink, honey, why is your mouth open?" He closed his mouth. "Think, Dink," he ordered himself. Suddenly, Josh knocked over his lemonade glass. The sticky, cold liquid spilled into Dink's lap. Dink let out a yell and jumped up. "Oh, sorry," said Josh. "Paper towels to the rescue." Dink's mother ran towards the house. "Good thinking, Josh," Dink said, wiping at his wet jeans. "But did you have to spill it on me? You had the whole yard." Josh grinned. "Some people are never satisfied. I got you out of hot water, didn't I?" "Right into cold lemonade," Ruth Rose said. Dink blotted his jeans with a handful of paper napkins. "Come on, let's go meet Mavis before my mom comes back. There's something weird happening on the 3rd floor of the Shangri-La." Chapter 8. Dink's jeans were nearly dry by the time they reached the hotel. Mavis was waiting out front. "How was your lunch?" she asked timidly. "Fine, thanks," Dink said. "We talked it over and we think there's something fishy going on the 3rd floor of this hotel." Suddenly, Mavis began coughing. She held up her scarf in front of her mouth. Dink noticed that the letters on the scarf were tiny M's. "Are you okay?" he asked. "Should I run in and get you some water?" asked Josh. Mavis took off her glasses and shook her head. "No, I'm fine, thank you." "Dear me, I don't know what happened. Now, what were you saying about the 3rd floor?" "We think Wallace Wallace may be up there," Ruth Rose said. She reminded Mavis about the smudged signature for room 302 and the Do Not Disturb sign on the door. Mavis replaced her glasses. "Mercy! What do you think we should do?" "Follow me," Dink said. For the second time, they all trooped into the hotel lobby. Mr. Linkletter watched them from behind the counter. "Hi," Dink said. "Remember us?" "Vividly," Mr. Linkletter said. "Wallace Wallace checked into room 303, right?" "That is correct," said Mr. Linkletter. "Well, we talked to the maid who cleaned that room," Dink went on. "She told us no one slept in it." "You spoke to Olivia Nugent? When? How?" "We have our ways," Josh said. "So," Dink went on, "we think Wallace Wallace disappeared right here in this hotel." "And Wallace Wallace is a very famous writer," Ruth Rose reminded Mr. Linkletter. "Millions of kids are waiting to read his next book," she added sweetly. Mr. Linkletter's sad eyes grew large. He swallowed and his Adam's apple bobbed up and down. He rubbed his forehead as though he had a headache. Then Dink told Mr. Linkletter about room 302. Miss Nugent said there was a Do Not Disturb sign on the door. Ruth Rose pointed to the register. "See, the signature's all smudged." "We think the kidnappers are hiding Wallace Wallace in that room," Josh said. At the word kidnappers, Mr. Linkletter closed his eyes. He opened a drawer, took out a bottle of headache pills, and put one on his tongue. "Just to be on the safe side, perhaps we should check both rooms, Mr. Linkletter," Mavis said quietly. "It'll just take a minute," Dink said. Mr. Linkletter let out a big sigh. "Very well, but this is most unusual. Things run very smoothly at the Shangri-La." They all got into the elevator. No one spoke. Dink watched Mr. Linkletter jiggling his bunch of keys. Mr. Linkletter kept his eyes on the little arrow telling them which floor they were on. The elevator door opened on the 3rd floor. Mr. Linkletter unlocked unlocked room 303. Most unusual, he muttered. The room was empty and spotlessly clean. Strange, very strange, Mr. Linkletter said. They moved to room 302, where a Do Not Disturb sign still hung on the doorknob. Mr. Linkletter knocked. They all leaned toward the door. Listen, I hear a voice, Josh said. What's it saying? Ruth Rose asked. Then they all heard it. The voice was muffled, but it was definitely yelling, Help! So here's a picture of them knocking on the doors. So you can see they tried room 303. They went in and there was nothing in there. But room 302 has a Do Not Disturb sign. We're going to stop there, and you'll have to see who was yelling help tomorrow, okay? I hope that you guys are having a great day, and I can't wait to see all of your beautiful faces tomorrow. Love you guys.